Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps get the word out to more people on YouTube. I just finished a short video. You can use it as preparatory to this Lankavatara continuation on happiness. What is happiness? That's what I'll call it. Okay. So it is said, and this is Shakyamuni talking, in order to remove the notion of birth and to accomplish that of no birth, I teach the doctrine of no cause. But this is not understood by the ignorant. Remember, we talked a lot about the interpretation of the philosophers, and I talk about it in the happiness video. That's why I hope you watch it before you continue here. This idea, we are so ingrained and born, quote unquote, of the material world, right? So what is it to not be in that material world? It's a very difficult hump mentally to get over, because everything we know is materialism, right? Every religion comes down to the body, a material thing. The whole fascination with it, ego soul, eternal life. It's missing. In fact, the word life has a complexity of meanings that is 99.9% material. Yeah? And when we talk of life in Buddhism, we're talking about a process. We're identifying energy and formation, not form, not material. This is hard to understand. And this is what Shakyamuni is trying to explain to Mahamati. But Mahamati, he's in that material world. So this idea of birth and no birth, it's not understood by the ignorant. Who are the ignorant? The people who don't understand how to peer, how to experience, how to witness this material world as a thing in itself, the whole universe as a thing in itself that is constructed. Constructed of what? That energy formation, that life process that spawns all of this stuff. To attach ourselves to the stuff is to miss the grandeur, the immensity of this formation energy of which we are. To be in that mindset dislodges us from ownership, anxiety, stress about the sparks. We're free to be in and enjoy the sparks without being contained in, identified with. Yeah. So he continues, this is all unborn. He's talking to, again, this is a translation. So what the Prakrit language sounded like about this stuff, very hard to ascertain. But maybe if we read through enough of the translations, we'll start to see what Shakyamuni is talking about. All of this is unborn. In other words, all of this material that we cognate with our minds of identification has its origins in something much grander, much more pervasive, much less thingified. That's just a spark. Don't be drawn into the spark. This all is unborn, but that does not mean that there are no objects. Again, reiterating, he's not trying to say you need to annihilate all things. That's not the point. The point is to understand from whence all things are manifested. Being in that place affords you a much grander perspective. Yeah? They are seen to be like the city of the Gandharvas, a dream, and Maya. If you can just see them as the moment-to-moment manifestations, the sparks, then maybe with that perception, maybe, just maybe, you'll disconnect your ego, your very identifying of self with those things, and understand that you are something with your sentient mind capable of being with and observing much grander the formations of everything, the universe itself, instantiating in your sentient mind moment to moment. What an amazing opportunity. A singular opportunity that happens only in this brief lifetime that you have, where a sentient mind emerges. Because when you die, gone. So this is it. Maximize your life experience. This is what Buddhism is about. The objects are here, but they're causeless. What does that mean? It means that in the quiescent energy that all things are formed of, there's no map that says, we need a textbook. We need a 65-inch flat screen television. Like a list of, oh yeah, time to make one of this. Like energy and formation is a manufacturer. See, that's how we think. We're so admired in materialism, we invent gods and planets and other places to satisfy our reasoning for why stuff. And Buddhism, Shakyamuni says, no, you're missing something much more vast and undefined, undiscriminated, unthingified, unidentified, no form, formlessness, egolessness, imagelessness. Do you see what he's talking about now? Tell me how things are unborn without self-nature and empty. So now do you understand emptiness differently? It's not that the chair is empty. It's that the reason for it being is empty, because there is no reason. It's just a manifestation of potential. It's part of the process. Oh, this and that and this and that and this and that need this in order to do that. So it's just not magic. It's tendencies and conditions. One thing belies another, belies another. Glaciers slowly move over a rock planet, carving their way through the rocks as the glaciers expand and move. And then temperatures change and the glaciers melt and the rivers and seas and oceans. It's not because the glacier goes, I need to make a lake. There's no plan. There's no master planner. It's just that when ice melts, it liquefies and it collects its tendencies and conditions. Things are just in a process of doing. That's life. Everything is in momentum, moving through time. This now. Whatever this is now isn't in the next now, because it's changing everything. You, me, the chair, yes, everything. Because it's never a thing in and of itself. It's a thing expressed in the moment-to-moment momentum of formations. I don't want to use the word creation because that we're trained when we say create. Well, who created it? It's not a who. It's just the process of life. It's just energy manifesting. It got started with a minor perturbation, and everything else results from, like the universe itself has a plasma of potential, changing moment to moment. Millions of moments, zillions of moments. Does it matter? No. What matters is the process. It's amazing. Be that. Be conscious of that. And your stress and anxiety about all the sparks become powerless, meaningless. They no longer define a me or an ego or a you. You simply join the process. How expansive would that feel? Go watch the video on happiness. When things are seen by transcendental knowledge, in other words, outside of materialism, they are not subject to combination and are unobtainable. They're just a process. Therefore, I declare that they are empty, unborn, and without self-nature. How many ways can he repeat these words, or these translations repeat these words, that it finally gets that point across? That it's not that things are not, or that they're destroyed. It's that the very nature of thingness is an illusion constructed in the mind to hang on to things. If you see them as they truly are, being, constantly instantiating, therefore, not created, but expressing, what are they expressing? Something much grander, of which I too am an expression. Wow, this is a very holistic understanding of life. Uncontained, unowned, but fully experienced. Considered one by one, combination is there. The world appears to exist, but nothing is really existing. It is not as it is conceived by the philosophers. I think, therefore I am. When combination is dissolved, nothing is left to be seen. When you understand that everything is just a massive freight train of karma, of energies in different formations, manifesting and expressing themselves, the process becomes amazing, a wonder to watch and participate in. But it also dissolves the idea that you can own what you, if you want to own something, own the fact that there is no ownership. That you're part of this process too. How fascinating. Freely observe the sparks rather than burning up with them or lamenting their disappearance. There's always something expressing itself. Your chair breaks apart, you go buy a new one. That's a materialistic way of looking at it. But your need for chair suchness, your utility of suchnesses, is fine as long as you understand the suchness of being. It's very calming. Yeah? As is a dream, a hairnet, Maya, the city of Gandharvas, and a mirage, which rise into view causelessly, so is the multitudinousness of the world. Yet another way of saying the same thing. We're completely enraptured in materialism, but happiness isn't in the material. That's a sinkhole of identity, self, ego. That's a hard stop on the process of life. What are you doing? By keeping down the theory of no causation, no birth is demonstrated. When the theory of no birth is declared, my law eye, my mental cognition, my witnessing, right, is never destroyed. When the theory of no cause is pointed out, the philosophers are horrified. You say everything comes from nothing? No. I'm saying everything is an expression of a process. Yeah, we label it nomina, not because there's nothing. It's because no thing indicates a state where nothing is formed, from which all things are formed. But be in that formation mind, and therefore release yourself from all the form. To be in the form, be in the sparks, but you don't own them. They're not yours. Your identity is far more grand than the simple collection of expressions of life, of energy. Mahamati asks, of course, how? By whom? Where and wherefore does the theory of no cause make its appearance? Shakyamuni says, when things are perceived as neither subject to causation nor above it, then the view maintained by the philosophers of birth and destruction is done away with. When you alter your perception, when you tap into Buddha-ness, that state of mind that offers to you a state of being without attachment, without identification, when that mind of yours understands life at that immense, inclusive, all-understanding, right, the process of life itself, when your mind shifts to that understanding of the material world, then all of these machinations, words, brilliant philosophies of the philosophers, it doesn't hold anymore. It's like children playing in the sand. The wave comes up and the castle they built all day goes back into the ocean. You've invested your identity in sandcastles, and all it takes is a high tide to wash it all away, because it was never real to begin with. It was a temporary construct of manifestations of desire, energy. It's important to realize that, because this is what Nichiren's talking about when he says desires are enlightenment. Because when you finally understand that your desires are like sandcastles, that they're not real in and of themselves. Sandcastles don't just pop up on the beach everywhere. They're temporary constructions of reality, but they're not really reality. In the end, sandcastles are empty of that. Oh, how silly, right? Mahamani, is non-being no birth? Or does it look for causation? Or is it a being's name without a corresponding reality? Please tell me. No, name and form. That's what I'm talking about. But Mahamati, damn, he just doesn't want to get it. So Shakyamuni says, non-being is not no birth, nor does it look for causation. It's like there's energy wandering around. How do I become a chair? I want to be a chair. It's not a warehouse. It's not an inventory clerk. It's just, nor is it a being's name. If I say chair out loud, well, boop, will it pop up? Nor is it a name without a corresponding object. Chair, chair, what shall I make of the word chair? This is so materialistic. Do you see it? Do you hear it? Here is a reality which does not belong to the Shravakas, Pratyagabuddhas, nor to the philosophers. Neither does it belong to the Bodhisattvas who have entered upon the seventh stage. This is what characterizes no birth. Namana. Potential. Unexpressed. The doing away with the notion of cause and condition, the giving up of causal agency, like something is causing, the establishment of the mind only, this I state to be no birth. An observer. Not who observe, not who witnesses, but the ability of the sentient mind to observe that there is no observer, that there is no thingifying, that there is something, there is an energy of that transcends, another word, formations, that collects, that amalgamates energies to simply express the energy of life. But the life is not to be found in the expressions. That's where we go materialistically. We think that all the expressions are life, are owned, are what we are experiencing. Yes, in samsara. But we can transcend that experience to participate, to observe. The origination is of no origination. That energy is everywhere all the time, expressing itself, but that is the magical experience of samsara, not the thing itself, which is no thing. Operating from that mentation releases us from the very stuff that we play with and experience every day. The point is disconnecting from the materialism of the expressions, while at the same time living amongst and within and being of the expressions. It's not about going to another place. It's not about being energy. You have no choice. You are. You're a spark. You're sparking. It's an altered state of realization, not an altered place of being, because that's materialism. You see how words are having a rough time with this? So don't be surprised if it's not quite gelling. The mind liberated from its objective world, to say it again, the getting rid of the twofold svabhava, a turning up at the seat of mentation, this I state to be no birth, the aha. No external existence, no non-existence, not even the grasping of mind. Things are like a dream, a hairnet, Maya, the city of the Gandharvas, a mirage, the abandonment of all the philosophical views. This is what is characterized as no birth. The material world, the world of definitions. Thus, too, all these worlds will be understood, that is, emptiness, having no self-nature, etc. The world is empty, not indeed because of its being empty, but because of its being empty in the sense of being unborn. Another definition of empty. And why do we need a definition of empty? To get us to stop grasping. If all you're doing is grasping at air and you suddenly realize, what am I doing? Do you then put your hand down and go, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed. I was just grasping at air. Do you now see your behavior differently? Do you now see the world around? What was I grasping? What did I need to grasp? Why was I trying so hard to have when in reality I am having? Everything is at my feet. Why do I need to grasp? Why don't I just observe the beingness of everything? Oh, thus too all these words will be understood. That is, emptiness, having no self-nature. The world is empty, not indeed because of being empty, but because of its being empty in the sense of being unborn. There's nothing to have here. There's only everything to experience, moment to moment to moment. A system of mentality may have its rise and fall owing to causation. Right? In the material world, we know that sex sometimes begets a birth, and then that we have a child, and there's all sorts of causation to analyze there, and that's the world of the philosophers. That's the world of the material. Yeah? He's not denying any of that. What he's saying is that you can observe all of that outside of materialism. That in fact, all of these activities are just the nature of manifestations, not in and of themselves demanded by life, but contained within life. When there is a dissolution of the system, there is neither birth nor annihilation. There is simply observation of the system at work. The warehouse. When a dissolution somewhere takes place among the members of the system, such existence ceases as is discriminated by the philosophers by means of such categories as oneness or separateness. This, not that. Nothing is born, being is not being is not, nowhere is being and non-being, except that where there is a system, there is the rising of things and their dissolution. The system being materialism. It is only in accordance with general convention that a chain of mutual dependence is talked of. Birth has no sense when the chain of dependence is severed. As there is nothing generating, there is no birth free from the faults of the philosophers. I talk of this conventionally according to the theory of concatenation, and that this is not intelligible to the ignorant. They're not even seeking it. I'm perfectly happy with my porridge and my wife and my husband, my whatever, my stuff. If there is anything born somewhere apart from the concatenation, and you know what concatenation is, right? The putting together. Right? Like a hyphen. In materialism, everything is hyphenated. Literally. Maybe not in words, but this begets that, that's concatenation, yeah? If there is anything born somewhere apart from concatenation, in other words, it just appears. Here is one who is to be recognized as an advocate of no causation, as he destroys concatenation. You can't stop. You can't become enlightened by declaring that things don't combine. Of course they combine. That's life. If concatenation works from outside, like a lamp revealing all kinds of things, like the light in the attic, this means that the presence of something outside concatenates. There exists something outside concatenation itself, the concatenator. See the problem of materialism? All things are devoid of self-nature, have never been born, and in their original nature are like the sky. Things separated from concatenation belong to the discrimination of the ignorant. They keep trying to make a creator. Shakyamuni is not saying that this is our goal in the mind to recognize ourselves as the concatenators. When he says of mind itself, he's not saying that we construct the universe. What he's saying is that we construct our relationship to something that doesn't exist, that we permanentify, that we identify, that we thingify everything we see. But if we just changed our perception to see all of the same stuff without identifying with it, without owning it, without being the creators of it, and simply watch the process, there's a great washing away of all that stress and anxiety. That's what he's trying to describe here. And whether he did so in Prakrit or whether we're reading an English translation of a translator who can't do that, we're still watching the struggle of the Mahamati as a general personification of mentations, understanding, and the enlightened point of view coming from Shakyamuni. So you could see the whole Lankavatara is this struggle of the mind to understand one's own perception of life. Interesting, yes? There's another kind of no birth, which is the self-essence of things realized by the wise. Its birth is no birth, and in this no birth there is recognition. Again, now we're looking at the way the mind works. Stop thinking chair, table, friend, self. Start thinking how the mind is experiencing all of these sparks. When this entire world is regarded as concatenation, as nothing else but concatenation, then the mind gains tranquility. Oh, this is all the kids playing in the sand. Oh. Ignorance, desire, karma, etc., these are the inner concatenation. A ladle, clay, a vessel, a wheel, etc., or seeds, the elements, etc., these are external concatenations. The this, that of observation. But observation in a material sense means that I see that, therefore I have that. I identify as that song, as that chair, so on and so forth. The fact that I have that chair identifies me as one who has the chair, therefore I am. See the identification puzzle? And Buddhism doesn't say, throw all that away, burn it, not good. No, what Buddhism says is, please recognize that in that play of materialism, you are just at play. You don't, by identifying that chair with who you are, dependent on that chair and the who you are-ness, to be. That's what's making you miserable. Because you're afraid that if you lose that chair, you will lose who you are being. Wrong. That's materialism. Enjoy the hell out of that chair. Be with that chair, but understand that it's all suchness, temporary, moment to moment, expression. Be in it. Lounge in it. Own 1,000 of them. But don't slip into the idea that that is who you are, what you are, why you are. Enjoy the suchness of it, being, verb. It's subtle, but it's so profound. If there is any other existence born of concatenation, this goes against the law of concatenation. Those who hold this view are not established in the principle of correct reasoning. Now he's identifying magical thinkers, right? If you are brilliant enough to understand how molecules, atoms, and everything, energy comes together, amalgamates to make things, and then you say, but there's a thing on another planet that you can't see that's controlling all of this. Whoo, tweet, tweet. You just gone and you're not even using your mind anymore. You're a manipulator. You're a magician. You're trying to identify cause where there isn't any. And you're claiming power because you are uttering this other nonsense. And people stuck in materialism looking for a reason to be victims will listen to your wonderful magical thinking and they'll go, oh yeah, you answer all my problems. And here we go with religion. Nonsense. Literally nonsense. If there is an object coming into existence and yet is non-existent, by what law of causation is there the recognition of it? Things here are of mutual origination, and for this reason, causation is declared. This is the Nidana, isn't it? He identified that very early on. Heat, fluidity, motility, solidity, such notions are discriminated by the ignorant. There is a system of relations. No individual object exists. Hence, the denial of self-nature as constituting the realness of objects. The physician varies his treatment according to diseases, though there is no difference in the principle of healing. The difference comes from varieties of diseases. In like manner, in order to save generations of beings from their disease of passions, attachments, with which they are ill, completely confused and beholden to their identities, I teach people with my doctrines, knowing the power of their senses. Buddhism appeals to your mind, your ability of mind to distinguish fantasy from reality. Therefore, Buddhism relies on reason, rationale. No mysticism, no magic. My doctrine does not vary, but the passions and powers are differentiated. There is just one vehicle, auspicious in the Eightfold Path. So he's going all the way back to the Eightfold Path, the Four Truths, the Eightfold Path, indicating that the Eightfold Path is not enlightenment, but it circles around in the samsaric behavior of our identities to manifest, to peer into, to get a glimpse of enlightenment, awakening. How do we get there? Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. All right. I'm going to end on that note. And then we'll continue with more of the Lankavatara Sutra. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being such an active participant in your own enlightenment. Yeah? That's why we're practicing. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Keep it up. You're doing amazing work. I believe in your Buddhahood, your Buddhaness. right? Thank you. Thank you again to all the patrons who help support this channel. Thank you for your likes, subscribing. Yeah. You guys, you are the Sangha. With my deep respect and admiration, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. See you in the next one, okay? All right. Bye for now.